An alluvial gold miner from Tolukuma robbed by police. Policemen told again to refrain from corrupt activities. And Dika Toua confident of 3 gold medals.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's news. It's good to have your company. An alluvial gold miner from Tolukuma was robbed in Port Moresby yesterday. Joseph Katavu alleges that the men who stole 4,000 kina from him are members of the police force. He told MTV News he was taken to Gordon's police barracks where he was beaten up, then dropped off at Erima.
Joseph Katavu fetched 8,000 kina from selling his gold at one of the dealers yesterday. Shortly afterwards, he said they were followed by a vehicle and forced to get out.
Selling gold, I go lo ISBL island. Me selling gold lo mina me like gold house na me kala taxi come down lo Golden Sarits front lo Brian Bell home set head down want to say me kala lapit them all sell the police come all come lo private car. Police car, all come private car, all civilian clothes, all come all me.
He said they were then taken to Gordon's police barracks, where they were beaten up and forced to hand over the money to this group of men.
Gun, all carry milago, balak, some loading gun, almost loading gun. Now we got police to lap and all see me, now look around go, no, most oxymota santilo me. 1,654 kina. So out of 8,654 kina, all seen na mo all like seen so Miss Strong go all like seen Islamania Miss Strong go mikaray na mo say mi talk mi got all family Miss last time Miss Strong go na mo talk by sin 2,000 lo give me 2,000 na mikaray na mo sin Islam bila katim Manila na mele na mo say all like seen go but Miss Strong go mi orem half mi orem half na mo say mo orem mo gata na all karing go.
Mary, also from Goilala, who happened to be at the location yesterday when she saw a group of men forcing the boys into an unmarked vehicle. She managed to get the plate number plus the description.
Harage towards Sinachmin, I captured these guys in a red double cab, pulling the taxi to the side and dragging the boys out of the taxi. Nissan Navara. The plate number is CAX 967, double cab red. Those guys were in civilian saying they are all policemen.
After contacting relatives in the city, the 2 victims were located in Erima with 4,000 kina less from what they had yesterday. The victim told MTV News that the identity of one of the men among the group is known to himself and people in Tolukuma because this person frequents the mine to provide security.
Junior, na Junior, sabe lo sabe good lo name lo me. Na me to me sabe long game. La one time sa total sa selling mo something ko kan. So I'm calm down na me sa buying boy smoke long game. Time me round me sa buying boy smoke long game. Sabe o sa me one can man lot less.
The matter has been registered with police at the Boroko police station. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
Police personnel have been warned to refrain from corrupt activities. This is according to NCD Metropolitan Superintendent, who led the 2015 Metropolitan Superintendent Parade in NCD this morning. MTV's Eric Harupma with this report.
More than 100 police personnel gathered in distinguished police uniforms and paraded with high-flying colors.
The essence of policing anywhere in the world is service. To be a servant of those whom you serve. To provide service willingly, lovingly, from the heart without fear or favor, malice or ill will.
Our said police personnel must stand out clearly as a real agent of the state. He said regardless of creed, color, race and religion, this noble form of service must be delivered to every man and children all over the world. Mr. Bauer said officers all over the world, including those who served in the law enforcing agencies, circle a symbol of the state's authority and government.
I want police officers' attitude to be right and good. I want discipline, commitment and high standards. The people you serve want these services too. They want to see this in you and be proud of you.
He said police powers and authority reflect the fairness and justice in the performance of their roles and functions. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
A shoplifter who was locked in a deep freezer is now helping Lay Police with information to arrest the security guards involved. Sam Pooney from Southern Highlands claims he was kept for 3 hours in a freezer at the Papindo shop at Eriku. Lay Police have built up a case and are working on arresting those guards involved.
With swollen feet and a fresh cut on his face, Sam limped his way to the Lay Central Police Station. He had just come back from receiving medical treatment at the Engau Memorial Hospital. With him was Joseph Jacob, the eyewitness who came to his aid at the time of the incident. Police say the incident occurred around noon on Wednesday. Witnesses say Sam was caught stealing a can of oxen palm by Quima security guards at Papindo. As a result, he was beaten, then put into a freezer as a form of punishment for shoplifting.
Me looking at same time get of not pushing trolley come now. All cops same man come out and me come looking at most few eyes body blame eyes so Mr. Lily 2 minutes now online comes so me talk so all no come now look at me pami art blame go na more me blow skin blame go send him out now more right me black say or police can or maximum come.
Sam has registered a formal complaint against those guards involved with police. 2 officers have been assigned to his case and he is now helping police with information that will lead to the arrest of these guards. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News, Lay.
The Catholic Principals Conference has revealed that the government's tuition fee-free policy, or TFF, has not been paid in full to all schools in the country. Only 70% of the first payment was paid, which is not enough to see all schools function till the end of Term 2 this academic year.
The first payment of the tuition fee-free subsidy for the 2015 academic year was underpaid. This was revealed by the Catholic Secondary and High School Principals Conference in the nation's capital. The school heads were informed through a circular stating that only 70% of the first payment was paid for terms 1 and 2. The payment is not enough to see schools operate for the next 3 months.
For many schools, because there are increase in student enrollments, some numbers have doubled. They will certainly face problems in ensuring that the school runs through until the end of Term 2.
Chairman of the Catholic Schools Principals Conference, Hilary Swamba, says most schools throughout the country are keeping quiet on this issue. The chairman says if the government cannot meet the payments, it is only fitting to allow school boards to charge parents for project fees.
It's only proper that the balance be met by the parents, and the government should allow, or the department should allow that to happen.
In response, Education Secretary Dr. Michael Tapo explained the government has a deficit budget that will release funds when they are made available.
About the tuition fee free, this year we got 605 million. We've got release of the funding 242 million, all right, and then just last week we got an additional warrants of 50 million. So hopefully by the end of Term 1 we will be able to remit money to at least over 10,060 schools all around the country, and that's include the Catholic schools who are here, the money that they've been waiting for.
In the meantime, the secretary urged all school principals and head teachers to provide proper financial reports to the education department if they face funding problems.
I asked the school principals to appreciate that the government can only do so much for what we have in the past. And I ask you to just keep on following the due processes, so that make sure that if you're not getting your money, report all those things directly to the Department of Education so that we can find out where the missteps are.
Stanley Ove Jr., National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News tonight. I'll be back with more local news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. There is no money available to revive the Special Immigration Task Force that was set up to combat the influx of illegal immigrants and illegal businesses in the country. Foreign Affairs Minister Raymond Pato said the 2 million kina given to the Immigration Task Force was all spent in 2012. He made these remarks when giving an update on his recent trip to the Kingdom of Morocco and Africa.
Following a public outcry on social and mainstream media for illegal foreigners to be dealt with, Minister Pato says there are no funds to revive the Special Immigration Task Force.
Funding at this point in time, there is no budgetary appropriation made for task force for the PNG Immigration and Citizenship Authority. There was an amount of 2 million kina expended for the work that was done previously. We've asked for further funding from the Treasury to come so that the work could be continued. If we do get that money, of course, the work will be progressed. If we don't, then I intend to bring a submission to the Cabinet.
Citizens were concerned that jobs reserved for locals were now being taken over by foreigners. There were even pictures circulating which showed foreigners selling buai on the streets of Papua New Guinea and their engagement in illegal activities, indicating the presence of illegal immigrants in rural areas. In 2012, the Special Immigration Task Force was headed by John Bria and comprised police, customs, NIO and immigration. It was responsible for the arrest and deportation of a number of illegal immigrants. Calls to re-engage the Special Task Force were supported by Chief Secretary to Government Semana Supezurano, Opposition strongman and Vanimo Green MP Belden Nama, and further supported by Northern Governor Gary Jufa.
Look at the previous operations that we experienced belong. So
First ministers, they just sitting around in Waigani and not going and seeing the real physical stuff on the ground.
And operating illegally. You have transnational criminals operating primarily in the forestry and the fisheries sector. They are controlling those sectors.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says if there is still no money following his submission, then he will be forced to use funding internally to support the work of the task force, which he says is not part of the department's roles and functions, but a necessary exercise for the department. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
The Kauri people of Kairiku District in Central Province today witnessed a groundbreaking ceremony. In partnership with the Central Provincial Government, 2 Malaysian companies will establish a satellite township for the people of Central Province. It will be built at the former Ilimo farm outside of the National Capital District.
300 hectares of land at the Ilimo farm 14 Mile was allocated to Jayacorp Holdings Limited and Iris, 2 Malaysian companies, to transform the land into a small township called Ilimo Satellite Town. The first 30 houses of the public servants will be built. A technical college and a high school will also be built, with some commercial and industrial factories. Within the first 5 years, more than 500 houses will also be built in the proposed town. Central Governor Kila Hauda addressed the settlers today.
In LCD or in Central Province can relocate their people. I think I can be able to relocate it properly. Therefore, we both have we know how do we start good. Officers from me back look at me plan, checking me plan good, and we will try our best to relocate you. I want your cooperation. If we work boom one time, this town has been lying idle for many years. You will be given opportunity to work.
Se Pukatemu, who was also present to witness the groundbreaking ceremony, says that the current NCD boundaries will remain where they are. Land outside of the city belongs to Central Province and it should not be touched.
Tendered programs for developing a master plan for Baltimore City. Deliberations have been done this week. And so the progress is continuing. So we are going to build in Baltimore, we are going to build here, we are going to build on the other side of LNG, and we are going to cover our land and take it back.
Karukuhiri MP Peter Isoaimo says the Ilimo farm has been sitting idle for 10 years because of political interest. However, this development has massive potentials as it will bring basic necessities like electricity and water into the area.
Water is a necessity for people living in and around here. And as their leader, I would want to ride on such projects to bring in the necessary goods and services to people in my electorate.
The two Malaysian companies said that PNG is known for groundbreaking ceremonies but delayed the outcome and promised to get the job done quickly.
Our vision, and it's also still the government vision, is to make this town as a progressive modern town. If possible, we will self-contained. Maybe we can generate our solar panel, factory solar plant, whatever, because the power is shortage around the country.
Meanwhile, concerns were raised for landowners to protect their land but must use it for development purposes. Central Province students are also privileged to go and study in Malaysia. Each year, 20 scholarships will be given to them. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Through a religious youth program, the Baha'i community in the North Wagi district of Jawaka province is helping young people in the non-formal education sector to prosper. The program lets teenagers and young adults work with the junior youth to help them devise plans of community service that will benefit all. EMTV's Julie Owa with this report.
The idea of having youth train youth stems from the fact that young people are closer in age to each other to better understand one another and are best suited to play mentor and role model to their younger friends. The program adopts a participatory mode of learning where the facilitator and participants learn from each other. Coming a remote village in Nonugul in the North Wagi electorate of Jawaka province is seeing the community transform through youth who are enrolling in the Junior Youth Empowerment Program, which encompasses community service and spiritual discourse.
Sambla mibla sakeles batem now mibla latin or community nyakano sem disla chole mekim na mibla fashion na okedas behavior blomi mibla sam blomi change.
Truthfulness is the foundation of human wages.
By developing virtues, their intellectual capabilities and their capacities for service to society, the participants come to see that they can become agents of positive change in the world. Furthermore, the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program assists junior youth to take ownership for their spiritual and intellectual development, to develop a strong sense of purpose and the choice needed to make good decisions, and to engage in meaningful social action in their communities. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News.
And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3765 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3690, $0.4789 Australian dollars, $0.3419 euro, and 44.25 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and coffee closed higher, cocoa and copper closed the day lower, while palm oil and crude oil closed lower and copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 117 points lower, the ASX closed 25 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 24 points higher. We'll bring you stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, as the civil war in Syria rages into its fourth year now, a battalion of female soldiers offer a glimpse into their duties on the front line. EMTV's Alana Lay has this report.
The United Nations estimates that 220,000 people have died in Syria's civil war.
Syrian women are not required to join the army, but this female battalion, stationed in the capital city of Damascus, have stepped up to serve their country. I volunteered because our country needs us now, and I came to help our brothers during this crisis. Our country is not only for our men, but also for women, because women became just like men during this crisis. The all-woman battalion was established in 2013 after the Syrian army opened the door for female volunteers, fighting in the district of Jobar, an area of heightened conflict where most buildings are nothing but shells. The young women donned their full army apparel and weapons before heading to position at the front lines in Humvees or tanks. I chose to come here because I wanted to help the army out of my own free will. When I saw how the army is fighting and how our brothers were at war, there was a driving force for me to come and support them. It's time for us to be with them. 3.9 million Syrians have been driven out from their homeland since the conflict began in 2011 over the rule of President Bashar al-Assad. Alana Lay, EMTV World News.
The president of Tunisia has deployed the army to the country's major cities following the attack on tourists, which left 17 dead. Meanwhile, ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack.
Bloodstains and damage mark the place at the Bardo Museum, where two gunmen launched their rampage just after midday on Wednesday. Tunisian officials say 23 people were killed in the attack, most of them tourists. But a Tunisian policeman also lost his life. His funeral took place Thursday, attended by the Interior Minister Najem Ghassali, who pledged the government would eradicate terrorism. You will see and witness what we do, he said. The government says 9 people have been arrested, 4 suspected of direct involvement in the attack. An official social media account of ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was carried out by 2 suicide bombers, both Tunisians. And ISIS warned it was the first drop of rain for Tunisia, threatening more to come. Survivors of the attack have given harrowing accounts of what happened.
We were calmly visiting the museum. At first, we thought a statue had fallen over, but then we heard screams. Then eventually realized it was gunfire exploding. We didn't know what we were going to do, so we hid.
A hospital morgue held the bodies of those unable to escape, as government sent envoys and planes to collect them. Here at the Bardo Museum, the gates are now closed. Forensic investigators have been studying the scene. Among the people of Tunis, there is a mix of disbelief and anger in the wake of the most deadly terror attack this city has ever known. They are horrified by the violence, but equally worried about the future, about the threat of terrorism and the impact on tourism, Tunisia's biggest earner.
Australia's 22nd Prime Minister, Malcolm Fraser, has died at the age of 84. Fraser, who died early this morning, has been remembered as a giant of Australian politics. He was planning to start a new political party before his death.
But Malcolm Fraser went on to win the next 3 elections.
Good evening. And now for something completely different. Welcome to Countdown.
He embraced multiculturalism and Aboriginal land rights, led the Commonwealth push to end apartheid in South Africa and argued for an independent Zimbabwe. The nation's finances were managed with traditional conservatism and cutbacks at first, but later the political pressure grew and the purse strings loosened.
We were never going to be a government just for the dollars and cents alone. The bottom line alone was not going to be the government's value.
In 1982, the country was facing recession, drought and social unrest. The Prime Minister was admitted to hospital with back problems. He recovered, and on the same day Bob Hawke became opposition leader, Malcolm Fraser called a snap election. But the strategy backfired on polling day.
And I would like to thank all my colleagues and the Liberal Party right around the country for the support they've given, not just over recent weeks, but over the last 7 years.
Life after the Lodge remained busy for Malcolm Fraser. He became a key figure in humanitarian and diplomatic circles. In 1986, he made the headlines for less dignified reasons, losing his pants in a Memphis hotel. But the former Prime Minister always kept an eye on the political arena, and he became a staunch critic of the Liberals under the next Coalition Prime Minister, John Howard, speaking out particularly on Indigenous issues, refugees and anti-terrorism laws.
The party has become a party of fear and of reaction. It's conservative and not Liberal. It is unrecognisable as Liberal.
He had more in common with his former political rivals than with his own party, joining Labor Prime Ministers past and present for the apology to the stolen generation. Eventually he quit the Liberals, citing his belief that the party he'd been a member of for more than 6 decades had tilted too far to the right.
Fraser has always been mildly controversial.
And to the end he lived by a phrase that had long been his catch cry.
Life wasn't meant to be easy. No, life isn't easy.
Malcolm Fraser is survived by his wife and 4 children.
And National EMTV News continues with Trukai Sports. That's coming up next, and I'll give you all the details after this break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Papua New Guinean weightlifting champion Dika Toua is confident she will win 3 gold medals in the snatch, clean and jerk and total in the 53kg division at July's Pacific Games in Port Moresby. The 30-year-old said she is confident she would retain her title as the champion after dominating the sport over the past 3 games. Toua has been competing on the world and regional stage since 2000, when she represented the country at the Sydney Olympics as a 15-year-old. She was the first woman ever to lift weights at the Olympic Games, competing in the 48kg category in the year 2000. PNG has one of the most resilient weightlifting teams at the Games, with Commonwealth Games men's 90kg division champion Stephen Curry competing as well. Toua will travel to New Caledonia early next month for her last training phase with Oceania Weightlifting Institute Director and Oceania Head Coach Paul Coffer. Preparations for Team PNG Squash are well underway for the Pacific Games, and a major gold medal prospect is young Lynette Vai, currently ranked 12 in the Asia Junior rankings and top in the Oceania and Asian circuit. Team PNG Squash will be looking to better their ranking in the Pacific Games in Port Moresby in July.
Team PNG Squash athletes have been preparing well over the last 3 months in the lead up to the Games. Following the PNG Games in November last year, raw talent has been identified and been given an opportunity to contend for a spot on the national squash team. Among players to represent Papua New Guinea at the Games are the Morove siblings Robin and Sheila. The duo represented NCD at the recent PNG Games, taking gold and silver in their respective events. The 2011 Numia Pacific Games featured much young talent who made their debut for PNG at the Games. But over the years, Team PNG Squash has improved and are looking at securing medals come July.
When we had the new Cal, it was just breeding the youngsters, because a lot of our older gold medalists who are taking gold for squash have kind of like retired. So the youngsters like Robin, and then we've got Madako who's in Cairns, and then our Lynette Vai based in Malaysia. Our chance for gold medal for Lynette is very high.
The team will be travelling to Australia in the next 4 months to attend training camps and play in tournaments in the lead up to the Port Moresby Pacific Games. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
The 2015 Pacific Games has provided several platforms for professional growth in Papua New Guinea. As chairperson, Emma Waiwai leads the Games Organising Committee with a team of over 100 employees. In an interview with Road to Port Moresby's Lorraine Genia, both Emma and Brenda Perot, is the Executive Manager of Commercials, spoke of the challenges with delivering the Games.
Now, Brenda Peru, a member of the 2015 Pacific Games team, has confirmed that over 50% of employees are women.
We have currently 127 staff. Half of those are women, and of those women, they're in every department in the organization and in every level, from coordinator, supervisor to assistant. So we're quite proud that the women shine throughout the whole organization.
Brenda says the Games aren't about empowering women, but more so on creating a successful coalition to deliver the Games. Chairperson of the Pacific Games Organising Committee, Emma YY, has spoken out on the challenges with leading a team in producing an event of this scale.
If you think about it, this is a really huge project, almost a 200 million kina project from a games perspective. And this project involves a lot of people. So when you're dealing with people, you need to be able to know how to deal with them. And I think one of the important aspects, the attributes that women bring are, the communication skills, being able to delegate really well.
While more than half the staff in the Pacific Games Organising Committee are women, they have said the primary focus is getting the job done.
Everyone's really excited. Everyone's focusing on what they need to do because, it's not 106 days is not a long way away.
Now, Chair Lady of the Pacific Games Organising Committee, Emma YY, has confirmed that the team producing the Games will be working tirelessly for the duration of the Games in July. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. Turning over to Rugby League, the SPPNG Hunters have had a great start to the season, coming off back-to-back wins in the last 2 weeks. Coach Michael Marum says the team has prepared well in the lead-up to this season. This weekend's match will be a challenge as the team has not yet secured a win against the East Tigers. EMTV's Dion Combank caught up with the team before their departure to Brisbane, Australia.
PNG Hunters are to head into round 3 of the Intra Super Cup this weekend, coming off 2 big wins in the previous encounters. Coach Michael Marum is pleased with the boys' performance, and I'm here with a debutant for this year's season, Sagrath Amian. Sagrath, tell me, how has the preparation been in the lead up to this game after 2 big wins?
The preparation has been well. It's been a long week for us, but the 2 wins, the 2 last wins are in the past now, so we're concentrating on this game now.
Following their impressive debut to the Intra Super Cup last year, the Hunters are looking to continue their winning streak in the coming games. The team, filled with much young talent, has given the Hunters a much-needed boost in this season's campaign.
I think the young players are probably a bit more disciplined, more better attitude than the previous ones from last year. But in saying so, I think it's early rounds yet. But we're expecting a lot more tough matches coming up in the season here.
Captain of the SP Hunters, Israel Eliab, said the team has had a great start to the season and he believes they can improve even more in the coming matches.
I'm very pleased with the boys, with the performance so far. I think the boys are getting the combinations right, starting from the first trial up till now. So I'm pretty pleased with how far we are going this season for a start. Yeah.
The Hunters are yet to claim a win against East Tigers, who they faced this weekend after a loss and a draw in their encounters last season. Dion Combank, National EMTV Sports.
Still on the SPPNG Hunters, Coach Michael Marum is supportive of the team's nomination for the Team of the Year in the 2015 SP Sports Awards. Marum has commended the team on their efforts in their inaugural year of the Intrust Super Cup and says they deserve to be there. Captain of the SPPNG Hunters, Israel Eliab, is also a nominee for the Sportsman Athlete of the Year award.
The SPPNG Hunters have been shortlisted in the Team of the Year category for the 2014 SP Sports Awards alongside the Barramundis and the MVIL Mosquitoes. After an illustrious year of rugby league in 2014, the Hunters have proven to be a force to be reckoned with.
I think that the boys probably will be looking forward to that night. I think if we make the Team of the Year, I think it would be good. But yeah, I think we had a good year last year, so we'll see what happens here.
In a boost to morale, they have also had Captain Israel Eliab nominated as Sportsman of the Year.
Being first year, he had led a team really well last year, and he had a big season. He was nominated, he was in the finalist in the ISC Player of the Year as well, so he came third there. So, and we'll see what happens there. So.
Eliab, who led the team in their inaugural year of the Intrust Super Cup, is honoured to be recognised but gives full credit to the team for their continuous support.
Surprised when I first that I was nominated, but yeah, thanks to those people that nominated me. But I'm just ready for whatever outcomes. I'm just happy with the nomination so far.
Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
After 2 weekends of round-robin matches, the Port Moresby Rugby League Super Nines will enter their finals this weekend to wrap up their off-season tournament. From the 32 men's teams, 16 are vying for the respective crowns in the Bowl, Plate and Cup finals on Sunday. Despite only 5 teams registering in the women's division, 4 have secured their spot in the Plate and Cup finals.
The staging of the Port Moresby Rugby League Nines tournament has given a platform for emerging clubs to make their debut. Going up against much-seeded clubs who have now been recognized to feed players into semi-professional competitions in the country, such as the Digicel Cup and now the SP-PNG Hunters. Hohola Team 1 will go up against SS Roosters to kick off the Cup quarter-finals on Saturday at Murray Barracks. While Connie Storms Blue have already secured their spot in the semi-finals after beating Royals last weekend. The Plate Finals is set to be a thriller as the big guns of the rugby league fraternity in the nation's capital, Dobo Warriors, face Paga Panthers in the Plate quarterfinals. Both Defence Green and Gold have secured a spot in the quarterfinals and will take on Koyari Navagas and Vanagi Blacks respectively. Dobo Warriors Team 2 will take on Keakolo Malagans in the Bowl semi-finals. In the women's division, although most women are familiar with the traditional 13-a-side format of rugby league, 5-seeded clubs registered for this year's PRL Nines tournament. Taranga will take on Connie Storms in the Bowl Grand Final while Defence face Connie Tigers in the Plate Finals. The winner of both games will face off in the Cup Finals on Sunday. Scholar Sengi, National, EMTV Sports.
In this weekend's round 9 matches, Port Moresby is set for another doubleheader at CIS Bomana. Competition leaders Hekari FC are set to take on Manu's side, Admiralty FC in the first match, followed by Young Bester team who will take on a determined Oro FC. In Lae, the Lae City Dwellers will be hosting Madang FC at the Sir Ignatius Kilagi Stadium. MTV's Elijah Levette has more in this report.
Champion side Hekari FC are looking to secure another win in their first match against Admiralty FC. In their last encounter, Admiralty held off Hekari's attack, ending the match in a draw. Admiralty will look to capitalize on their first win of the season, beating Bester FC last weekend, and to seal a victory against Hekari tomorrow. Bester FC and Oro lost their matches last weekend and will be hoping for a win come tomorrow. Most players from Bester have been selected into the under-23 squad, who have been working mostly on skills. Oro FC's defense will have to improve this weekend to hold off the young side's attack. Lae City Dwellers are in second place and are sure to put on a show when they take on neighbours Madang FC tomorrow. Madang are coming out from a bye and will be hoping to win this match. Dwellers lost their match last weekend and are also looking for a victory to maintain the position at the top of the ladder. FC Port Moresby is on bye this weekend. Elijah Lavette, National, EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports ends on that note. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In southern region, Port Moresby and Popondetta, mostly fine. In Momasia, mostly fine, expected in Madang, Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, fine weather expected in all centres. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres to anticipate cloudy weather. Now recapping our main headlines for tonight before we go. An alluvial gold miner from Tolukuma robbed by police. Also, policemen told again to refrain from corrupt activities. And Dika Toua confident of winning 3 gold medals in the Pacific Games. And that's how we wrap up the bulletin this Friday, the 20th of March 2015. From the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Enjoy your weekend. You take care and stay safe. Good night.